Cloud. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Well, welcome everyone to another Tawhid Spiritual Unity of the Three Principles show. My co-host Omar Ben Mosa is at a family gathering, a dinner that he couldn't avoid, and he sends his best wishes to us. And so I'm the host, and we're going to have a really interesting show today because the topic is regarding the Back to the Fitrah addiction department. And what we wanted to talk about today was our vision for the future in the Muslim community with regards to the department and some of what we've developed already, etc. And to help with that, we've invited Kathryn Jones, who's the CEO of Back to the Fitrah, Daniela Carbone, who is the addictions manager, an organizational manager, and myself, who's the training director of the addiction department. I want to emphasize something. I'm not the training director of Back to the Fitrah. I'm the training director only of the addiction department. And Back to the Fitrah is a very alive community of services that they offer around the world. It's an international organization. It's the brainchild of Kathryn Jones. And Daniela has been with her, I think, from the very beginning in 2015. And at a certain...
Sorry. No, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. And at a certain point in June, I contacted Kathryn and said, let's do a conference in addiction together for the Muslim community. And within the next time we met, she says, let's do a department. And this was like sent tingles down my back because it was exactly what I wanted to see that I could contribute to. And it fit very well into Tawhid because Tawhid started off trying to bring the three principles into the Muslim community. And it was very slow, but it kept developing. And Omar and I had sort of different visions of how we would create that. But when Kathryn and I got together, it was like a nuclear explosion of energy that just took off. She really knows how to create stuff, so do I. And so together, these two dynamic energies just created this 2-day conference. And then the department. And the department started about 4 months ago. And in 4 months, we've accomplished so much. It's amazing. All smoothly, all harmoniously, all caringly, and letting Allah and the Spirit bring us what we have to deal with. So one of the things I want you to get from today's show is not only our vision for the future, but the fact that anybody, when they come together with another like-minded person or a like-minded organization, can create something unique and new. It's not understood well in the Three Principles movement that the energy comes from you. You don't need 3PGC. It comes from you. You'd sure if you need training or development in certain areas, but the idea, the spark comes from you. And Kathryn really has a strong sense of that. And so do I. And luckily this time the two sparks work together, Kathryn, in that sense. And as we developed, we started training the staff of of Back to the Fitrah, of which 24 people volunteered their time and services, and some of them are here today. And so all of a sudden we had a big department, and in a lot of different countries. And that was exciting. And then we started to develop the structure of what we're servicing. Now listen to this structure. We have the best service in addiction in the Muslim community, bar none. But at the same time, we have an organization that caters to the personal, social, family, emotional needs of the individual. Much like the fellowship in AA, Back to the Fitrah provides a 3 principles Islamic perspective on being a human being. And if you're having trouble, they and the women, most of them are women, will provide a wisdom and support. That really helps. That means I don't have to just help people with big problems, and when they kick out because their son is fighting them or their husband is doing this and that, they have somewhere to go. So the compassion and the caring is provided. It's not driven by money. We want money, but we're not. That's not the focus. The focus is the service and the help and the support to Muslims. Now, here's something really interesting. When we started, Kathryn said, listen to a few of the shows in the Muslim community. Of all things, the Muslim community is open to the fact that they don't know how to handle addiction and mental health issues, which our department is ideally suited for. They are openly admitting that they don't have the answer. And they're openly curious to what the answer might be. This is so different than the rest of the world. The rest of the world is pretending they have an answer that doesn't work. Oh, it doesn't work, but they're pretending it does work. And so a big appetite went up in my mind. Oh, they're actually looking for truth. They're looking for something that actually works. And it's very interesting within the Muslim community, the religious aspect of it, the iman and they're very, very wise, but they're weak in the area of psychological problems. You can't just quote scripture when you're talking about that stuff. And so they're starting to realize that, yes, all healing is spiritual. That's absolutely true. Anybody who thinks it's psychological, you missed the boat. It's always a spiritual insight. It's always a spiritual thing that happens to people. But you have to understand the psychological component because you have a mind and you're curious and you're not satisfied unless it makes sense to you. So it's not always can be blind faith. And so with the 3 principles being a neutral truth, and with the spiritual wisdom of the Muslim people, the opportunity for the organization to penetrate and affect is very, very big. Whether it happens or not, we'll find out. It's kind of an interesting journey. We certainly keep our fingers crossed with regards to that. And within that development, we've all Tawheed has played a bit of a role in our last show in addiction with Nigeria, and we brought the Nigerian contingent. All of a sudden, we got one client and 2 prospective clients from the show, and the client we got, she was a woman who was despondent because her husband was on a very bad substance. And she wanted support. So it opened up something that I see as a big part of our service. We will help women who have sons and daughters and husbands who are addicted, and it's difficult for them to understand. We will work with the people who are addicted, and we have, and we provided healings in crack cocaine and cocaine, in pharmaceuticals, and in personal miseries and dissatisfactions in people's lives. We're a healing service. We're not here to tell you that we're going to talk to you about addiction. We know about addiction, but we're a healing service. And in this sense, I have found a love for the Muslim people. They love healing. They love their connection to Allah. They love that presence that they feel within their lives. And they want to live happily and successfully here as a human being. 3P. And so those two forces have provided us with the opportunity. And I must say, working with these women and one man, I got to better mention that, is a treat. Their love has enriched my heart. Their wisdom has enriched my heart. And we've had a blast. So we're in stage 2 now. We're now sharing with the world. We're attracting people. And of all things, just yesterday, we got a new client, non-Muslim, our first non-Muslim man, no less, from Tasmania. I had to look up on the map where that was because I thought there was only a Tasmanian devil. But it turns out they're famous for their clear air or something like that. And from Australia, they're Australian, type of thing. So we're attracting different things. And all we're doing is arranging, developing our system, and working harmoniously with that. Now, as you know, even if you have the best service in the world, you need a structure and you need an operations manager and so on. And Daniela is that. She's the middleman between myself and back to the Fitrah and Kathryn and so on. She's part of the executive team along with Pamela, who's not here, Kathryn, of course. And she has provided something that I have loved. She's very compassionate. You wouldn't think you'd want an operations manager that's compassionate. You'd think, no, it should be efficient. No, the compassion is the most important thing. And so anybody who talks to her, they know she's compassionate. And she has one other thing. She has an appetite to grow. She has really grown in the position. So from a little, I'm not going to say anything because it might upset Harry, to I'm going to tell Harry what to do, has started to come into fold type of thing.
Hi, Daniela. That's good.
And I love it because it takes care of business. All that matters is if you take care of the details, you can get to the good stuff. And so, Daniela, maybe you could talk a little bit about what you see and also what your vision for the future is, type of thing. And then we'll move on from that. Go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Harry. And Assalamu alaikum and hi, everyone. Just to clarify, I'm not the operations manager, that's somebody else, but I am the addictions department manager as well as
excuse me, wrong title.
I don't want to step on anyone's toes there.
Addictions, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so just to clarify that. But what I see with the addictions department is how it's grown from one little thought to a project, and now we're in in a department, and it's just growing and growing. And I think that is just beautiful to see the integrity of each and every one of us being a part of it in all ways. You know, it's not just me, it's not just you, it's not just Kathryn, you know, it's Saba, it's Yay, who's here right now. There's, as Harry said, there's 24 of us all together, and together we make an awesome team. And I think how that has grown, you know, from you know, in our trainings, from being quite reserved, I guess, at the start, because we didn't know, you know, what to expect or whatever. And then everyone's just growing in their own way and personally growing. And I think that's beautiful. And each of us have that opportunity to service the world in their own unique ways. And I think that's beautiful. You know, some are stronger in other ways, some are strong in other ways, but I think together it becomes like a as you said before, Harry, like an energy explosion. And I mean that in the most best of ways. You know, I think that's really good. In regards to, you know, what we do at Back to the Fitrah, it's all about healing, and I guess that's how we fit so well. You know, we fuse together so well because we want that healing. We don't want people to be suffering in their thoughts, you know, created by themselves. And so what I see for the addictions department is, you know, or what I'd like to see, or what I see actually, is just a healing of the world, whether it be, you know, from people who are actually addicted to substances or their thinking or whatever. And, you know, seeing past the labels that they've perhaps put on themselves or their family members have put on themselves. And I think when we get past those labels is when healing really happens, you know, because we see the beautiful souls that are in front of us, you know, not the person, not the, of course we see the person, but, you know, the person for who they are, not what they are or what they've taken or anything like that. I think that's really important, how that is a special part of healing. And what I see with the clients that we've had is that healing has already, you know, that has already started. And, you know, for example, the lady in Nigeria who we've just taken on, you know, it's about, you guys do your bit in the background with that healing, you know, with the service. And what I do as well is like complement that on the side, you know, just little bits. And I see that as an important part as well. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's how I see it. And my vision is to, I guess what I really would like is for, you know, I think a lot of the time in the world and in families, these sort of topics aren't are kind of like brushed under the carpet, and it kind of, you know, if you, how can I say it? You know, there can be shame and these sort of things, and I don't want that. You know, I want there to be, you know, yes, these things happen. I'm not going to say that they're not, but to not be ashamed of that, because it really is just an imbalance of thinking. And if we can bring that balance back to, we can bring a balance back to themselves, that's healing for me. And that's what I see.
That's a really important. It's really quite simple what we're doing. Unlike what other people are doing psychologically in the 3P community, our ways even simpler in some ways, because it's really just bringing a balance back into it. one of the things I learned listening to Professor whatever
Professor Muhammad Abdullah.
He said in the Muslim faith, basically it's a balance between intelligence, soul, and body. And when they're out of balance, is what Daniela is talking about. And when they come back in balance, the healing space appears. It's natural. It's just automatic. And what we've seen is this healing space is a lot easier to reach if you don't include a lot of systematic thinking about the psychological realm of life and get into the essence of what Sydney Banks is talking about, the spiritual feeling within. And take a look at your own beauty rather than you're a loser.
Mm.
And people like Daniela help do that because she lives that. And as I mentioned before, the most important thing about the three principles is living it, not talking it. Anybody can talk it, but to live it. And you don't have to know the words all the time, but that's why I love working with Back to the Fitrah. I am wordy. I have a lot of metaphors, but you can't beat that we're all in this together because of love, unconditional love. You can't beat that. And that seems to be a good message for people who are suffering through addiction or mental health issues, because our department deals with both. That balance, that's a word, that's a fundamental understanding in the Muslim faith. That balance is a fundamental understanding of Buddhism, Christianity, the three principles. So Kathryn, go ahead and give us a little rundown, maybe a little rundown of how you see it and a little bit about what you're doing. And don't forget to mention the conference that is coming up.
Well, first, I wanted to reiterate why Daniela's the ideal person for the role she's playing in the addiction department, because she's also the manager of our inner circle, which is the community that Harry's speaking about. And so no matter who of the mentors works with a client that comes to us, Daniela will be key in their care, because she also takes them on a guided tour of the inner circle and introduces them to our community and takes care of that side of things. And Pamela and I always admire her level of compassion in that role, and really see her as such the ideal person for that role, because we'd probably get impatient with people, whereas she just seems to remain so patient and just in that beautiful space. So yeah, it's just wonderful having amazing human beings in the team. And I think that the key thing, and perhaps what Harry saw in us, is that we are a team. And while you said it was my brainchild, it wouldn't have been born without all of these beautiful people, because they've been on the journey with me from the days when my idea was to just do a few parenting classes, and they were the parents I was teaching. And they kept wanting more and more. And as I was learning more, they wanted more. And it just evolved through them wanting more and us. And so we've always been a collective. We've always been together. And one of the key values in Islam is unity, that we stick together as a community, that we work together as a community. And I see over time that unity has really been lost a lot. There's a lot of division. There's a lot of people feel quite isolated. And one of the motivating factors for the work that we do at Back to the Fitrah in general is how we've noticed that beautiful bond that comes when you appreciate the human condition for what it is, because judgment falls away and compassion emerges, which was always there. It was just covered by judgment. When that judgment falls away, we all move together. We have our moments where we'll have misunderstandings, but because we understand this human experience, we sort it out straight away. And so that unity is there again. We understand the separate realities. So I think the vision that we all saw was, imagine if all the Muslims in the world understood this. Imagine the unity we could have. Imagine the peace we could have. And I think that was what really drove us to keep going, despite the fact that it's been a very challenging journey. It hasn't exactly all fallen on our fallen for us onto a silver platter and just handed to us. We've all actually worked very, very, very hard to get here. And as Harry was saying, for the love of it, not so much for the money of it. We're hoping one day it'll be that the money side of it will balance out, but that's never been the focus. It's always been about being of service, which is also another important value as a Muslim, is to be of service. So my vision for 2022 for June had been to launch a project on domestic violence. But in April, Harry had this conversation with me, and so we got on a detour and created an addiction department instead of working down the path of domestic violence. That's absolutely fantastic, because of course there is that connection between addiction and domestic violence as well. And it's just starting with something different first. And the growth that we've had with having Harry training us is phenomenal. And I believe probably sets us up even better to handle things like domestic violence that we might probably not have been strong enough to handle that topic before. We've grown not just in terms of the mentors in their understanding of how to support someone in addiction, but I think as a leadership team, I think Daniela and Pamela would agree that we've got so much out of our admin meetings with Harry in terms of how to become a stronger leadership team as well, especially, you know, Harry sharing with us the stories of how things were for Sid as well, for Sydney Banks, and what he went through and some of the lessons we can learn from his story. So it's been an amazing journey. It has been very fast. And I think one of the reasons it could be fast was because we'd reached the stage where we had systems in place behind the scenes, so we could just adapt those systems to what we needed to do. If we'd had to start from scratch, we wouldn't be here yet, you know, but we were able to scramble behind the scenes and keep up with Harry with our systems and technology. It wasn't always easy because Harry has been absolutely on fire in terms of helping us build this department. So we're incredibly grateful. And what I see is it just being a beautiful complement to what we're doing. It's addressing an area that is so needed, that this approach that we've always had of leading with compassion is exactly what's needed in the area of addiction, because there is such a sense of shame. And while that sense of shame is there, it becomes a barrier to the healing. It becomes a barrier to people even reaching out to Allah because they feel they don't deserve it. And they do experience a lot of judgment and criticism, a lot of people meaning well but saying things that make it harder, and so we have the soft place for them to fall. And when I mean fall, I don't mean fall but again, yes, fall if they do fall back. And we've been through that in the training process where someone had a relapse. They discover it is the soft place to fall, because when they get that soft landing, it just gives them the courage and confidence to step back up again and realize that, okay, I'm human, but I can do this again. And we've seen that just even through our training period. So this journey's been absolutely amazing. And given what's happened in such a short time, I can only imagine what can come. And what we're hoping for is that as the results are seen more, and we have had good results already in such a short time, that we find people willing to sponsor those who can't afford the service. We can't afford to offer it for free, because running what we run doesn't cost nothing. It costs a lot of money to run. So we need to charge people for the service, but some people cannot afford it. And so we'll need sponsors who are willing to sponsor those people, because we want to be able to offer it to everyone. One of the values of Back to the Fitrah is everybody deserves emotional and spiritual well-being, and where they live, their socioeconomical situation, their language that they speak, because we're working on different languages as well. None of this should be a barrier, and we want to break down those barriers, but we will need support from people willing to sponsor some people. And we don't charge huge fees. We try to keep everything at a reasonable level. That's always been another one of our values, that we're not here to get rich and live the high life. We're here to be of service, but we need to also be able to afford to bring that service as well. So that's what I see, Harry.
Well, we're learning how much to charge, how to charge. It's how to be flexible in charging. Oh, and it's been fun. I sort of had stepped out where clients would come to me, and they would pay a big bunch of money, and the rest of them I could do free type of thing. But it's been fun to get back into the business model of finding out what works in different countries. Nigeria, for instance, we charge in American dollars, and they don't have American dollars. They have to go to the black market. So they take 40% of the money just for their service of changing it into American dollars. So all of a sudden, a certain amount becomes half that amount, etc. All of these things are kind of fun. We're learning how to adapt to it. That's the purpose of the principles, guys. Adapt to what your reality is. Everyone says the principles point you towards the truth or towards happiness. Absolutely true. But they also teach us to adapt to all the things that happen. And we have become more flexible, wouldn't you say, Kathryn, in our understanding of what works for our clients. Because if we have the best service in the world and the client wants it, but they can't afford it, they're not going to come. And vice versa.
That's always been one of our challenges, how to navigate that from the beginning. It's always been that challenge of figuring that out. And one of the other challenges, of course, is bringing the logistics along with the adaptation and flexibility and merging the two together in a way, because when you're working with hundreds of people like we do, we can't have an individual kind of scheme for every person. It becomes too much to track. So again, it's about finding creative solutions where you work within the system and it works for them too. So a lot of creative thinking goes into it.
And what's been fun is it's been harmonious. Like it hasn't been easy, but it's been harmonious. And we've come up with answers. And I just love that. It's they're puzzlers. So it hasn't been like, oh, I'm in truth, so I know exactly. But when we work together, what works for the organization, for us, for the department, it comes, fruition. Now, I would just like Kathryn to mention a little bit about the conference that's coming up, Kathryn, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So those who are here in the room have probably noticed all the people with different faces on their with a topic on the screen, and that's their topic that they're speaking about at our conference. And Daniela and I've got the background, so we're all going to have a similar background at the conference. So we've since 2017, I've been running summits and conferences every year. In the last 3 years, this is our third annual We Are All Okay conference, which has been a 3 Ps inside out paradigm back to the Fitrah conference, where all the speakers are mentors that have been certified through back to the Fitrah. So all the speakers that you see are those that have been through the program and have become back to the Fitrah mentors. And it's our annual opportunity to share with the world this amazing understanding, particularly the Muslim world, of course, and showcase what we do for each individual within the team, to showcase their specific area that they're most excited, I would say, or passionate about working in. And so it's about growing back to the Fitrah's audience, but also the individual's audiences, because the way it works at Back to the Fitrah is we're a team, but everyone's individuals as well. So some people have their own businesses, but they're also working in Back to the Fitrah. We are very flexible, as Harry was talking about. We're very creative in the way that we work, because we want people to fly. We don't want to clip their wings and make it difficult for them. The whole reason for all of this was to be of service, and so we want to support them as much as possible to be of service. And so this conference is amazing this year. It's our biggest conference. We've clocked over the 3,000 registrations mark. We've never got over 3,000. It's all so this is our biggest conference yet.
The amazing number, right, Maya?
It's very, very exciting. We're in over 60 countries. There's more than 60 countries. I haven't done a recent tally. I was listing them to my mom last night on the phone, and she was just like amazed, all the countries that we've got into, even countries I'm going, I didn't even know there was a country called that. So it's very, very exciting. The other exciting thing about it is we used Facebook ads this year rather than just organic marketing. And so the majority of that audience is a brand new audience. So we're bringing this to new people, it makes it even more exciting. People who are here who are not Muslim are most welcome, or even not here, but anyone listening who's not Muslim is most welcome to join in. It's free to attend live. That's one of the things that I always do with my summits and conferences, is I make the live event free, and then people upgrade to get access to the recordings, because there are some people who could never afford our services. But what I have heard over and over and over again is that just what they are able to attend from the conference can change their lives. We get so many people come and go, you have no idea how much my life has changed. And I don't even know this person. I've never spoken to them, but because they've benefited from all the free things that we offer and they've been following us, they've already found themselves having insights and shifts in their life, which is what this is all about at the end of the day, alhamdulillah. So yeah, I'll pop the link in the chat here, and I guess we can put it.
And it's this Saturday it starts.
Yes, so basically this time tomorrow we'll be live. I've just put the link in the chat, and we can probably put the link with the live stream too, can't we, Harry, if people want to join us.
If I knew how, okay.
You can put it in the comments.
I'll make sure it goes in with everything.
Yeah.
And the addiction department is doing its first hour and 45-minute presentation with four people who are addiction mentors, and I could have easily picked another 4 and another 4 and another 4, to be honest, but this is just 4 that we have picked, and it's going to be not only a powerful conference, but it'll be a conference where the addiction department will, for the first time, be part of it. So we're added fuel to already a fire that is roaring.
Yeah. So it's been an absolutely amazing time behind the scenes putting this conference together. So it's a day to go, and you'd think that this week I would have been stressed and overwhelmed and running around like a headless chook, but I haven't at all. I've got a broken arm, which has slowed me down, and I've just been taking it one moment at a time. We've had the most horrendous time behind the scenes with software because we wanted to do it. We wanted to be bigger and better this year. And so we trialed this conference software, and it was a disaster. So all that work got scrapped. So then we tried to do Zoom events. And then we realized when we grew to 3,000 that it was going to start getting too expensive. So we scrapped that solution. So then we had to come up with another solution. And honestly, it's only been in the last week that we've put the new solution together. But I haven't really stressed. And that is the beauty of this understanding, is you realize there's no need to stress. Stress doesn't help anyway. It just slows you down. And everything's falling into place. And by not being stressed, I've come up with some creative solutions around things, because next year we do want to purchase this amazing platform, which you'll love, for the conference. But we need sponsors. And what we found when we tried to do that this year was that sponsors need statistics. And we've never had statistics other than how many signed up. So this year behind the scenes, I've been putting in all these things in place so that I can extract statistics, how many showed up for this session, that session, and all of those sorts of things. So being not stressed gave me the opportunity to be in creative thinking for solutions. These solutions will lead to opportunities, inshallah, moving forward. And that's what this is all about in terms of this understanding. Don't stress. It's going to be all right. Oh,
we've lost her.
Yeah. I don't know. So you could.
Did I?
Oh, you're back. Okay. Yeah. So this one of the things I want people to understand is the expansion of an idea requires people of common vision, common heart, and mixed abilities. So Kathryn's ability to this infrastructure she talks about, it allows us to grow unlimitedly. It's nice to know that the form is not the restriction on how big we can grow. The restriction is on all the members of the addiction department and what they put out in energy. And what we found is, in the cohesiveness and the love of what we're doing, it's created its own good luck. And we have been lucky. And within the structure, when a client comes to us, at the beginning, I'm always part of it. And we have an addiction mentor from the same country. So all these countries, these people, they have a person who they can talk to on the phone and become friends and stuff like that and feel comfortable with. And then they have this inner circle that they can go to and get more comfort and support and wisdom, and from a human perspective and from a 3P perspective and from an Islamic perspective. And what I've found with my services that I provide, obviously I'm not as a Muslim, and obviously I don't know that much about it, but it hasn't hindered, because truth all sounds like truth. Truth, Muslim truth sounds the same as Jewish truth, as same as Christian truth. So truth is impersonal, and so people have put words to what I'm talking about, and they say, "Oh, this is what tawakkul or this or that," and what I found is I'm expanding my understanding, because they're approaching things like, when I listened to this professor, Muslim means submission. We always said before it's surrender, but submission, I love that. Submit to Allah. Yeah, that sounds good to me. I can understand that. Get out of the way. I can understand that. Drop my personal opinion and listen to Allah's wisdom, or the truth, the spiritual truth, rather than my own personal. I can relate to that. So you feel this warmth, this balm of warmth. As I grow, I can share deeper with the clients. And as the mentors, each of the mentors have always had a problem, confidence in what they know. They always underestimated what they know. But once it pops out, and generally that's what happens, they start a little fuzzy, a little afraid, and then it pops out. Once it pops out, it's like everybody, "Oh, I like that. That's my wisdom coming out. And oh my God, it's helping the client. I thought only Harry could help the client." Doesn't work like that. They actually help the client more, or as much. And then having that support with Daniela's compassion and understanding and caring, and Kathryn's vision and quality of service, that provides a warmth. Back to the Fitrah addiction department is a warm service. I know addiction seems like a big deal, but as many of you know, I don't take it as a big deal. I just see it as an offshoot of someone out of balance. And then some people get violent. That's why Kathryn wanted the domestic violence. Some people get overeat. Some people get overstressed, worrisome. Some people undereat, Some people go to drugs. And when they go to drugs and relapse, as Kathryn mentioned, we give them a soft place to land. It's so easy, guys. Everybody makes mistakes. I'm at the head of the class. How could I be condescending to someone else because they have made a mistake? And the mistake is, it's perfectly designed by God. Tawakkul, perfectly designed. Never was a mistake. It was just your emanation to learn that your personal opinion and your personal desires can get out of control. Ooh, revelation. Imagine that my desires, Harry Derbitsky's desires, could get out of control. Unimaginable, in my perfection. But it's just the way, just desires out of control. And we know human beings aren't so good with that. greed, selfishness, sexual this or that, anger, domination, all that stuff, desires, status. But when love is at the front, as Kathryn and Daniela talked about, it puts everything in perspective. All perspective. And the perspective we have seen in the department is healing is good. Healing. We're not talking about a disease. We're not talking about you're a loser. Oh,
Matt, your mic's on. Can you just mute yourself, please? You might have to mute her. Harry.
oh yeah. I have to check. Where am I? Where am I? Let's see. How do I do that? Participants. Which one is she?
No, it's already done it now.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Oh, good. Okay. There we
So
go.
Harry, one thing that you were talking about was you know, each different perspective and the words, and it just reminded me how Sydney Banks would always say, don't listen to my words, listen beyond my words at my message. And I think if we all take that advice from Sydney, what we hear is, doesn't matter what religion someone's from, they're using the language they understand to describe what they're seeing. And we can actually then take our own language and translate that into our own language and go, oh, they mean this or they mean that in terms of the way we understand things. And that's how we've come to benefit so much from so many people in the 3P world, because we don't get all upset by, you know, the language they might use. We listen beyond that language to go, what are they trying to tell us? Oh, they mean tawakkul, or they mean like, and we have our own language to interpret it. And I think that is also a very key point to everyone getting along. If we could just stop and listen beyond people's words and not get hooked up on the words that they use. I know we've corrected you on some words, Harry, but that's because we're talking about people who don't get this. But for those amongst us who get it, it just makes life so much easier to understand each other and benefit from each other, rather than get conflicted over words.
Yeah, and coming together. Yeah. So is there any questions or comments before we wrap it up? See you all at the conference. Yeah, thanks, Safa. That's a good comment. Yay. Oh,
I have a question.
oh, good.
Okay. So it's not relevant to the conference, but I know the Department of the Addiction deals with the alcohol and the drugs, right? So I'm just wondering, what about the other things that can be addictive in nature, not drugs or alcohol, like hurting oneself or engaging in other, things that can be harmful to oneself. So
Well,
that's my question.
yeah, well, it's a good question, Amal, and we have talked and in and about it. The way I see it, Amal, is when someone comes to the department and they have a severe mental health or addiction thing that's really bothering them, the addiction department should get involved in that. But if they're having a general thing as that many mothers have about their kids or about computers and etc., parenting, etc. The back to the Fitrah is better to, the inner circle is better to help them in those things. So I really look at the severity of the mental health or addiction, whether we should be involved or not in helping the people. And we're not excluding anybody or anything from the addiction department. That's why we have Daniela, Pamela, Kathryn, the inners. We'll discuss it and see where they're appropriate. But I can tell you, the full service of Back to the Fitrah, either through the addiction department or through the Back to the Fitrah, can help people. Because
Can I
it's
just-
out. Yeah, go ahead, Daniela.
Yeah, like in the addiction department, if anyone wants to join us or like to be a part, if anyone wants our help through our services, there's a survey or like a questionnaire that we get them to answer before we actually, which you probably know in any case, Amal, but we get them to fill out so we can see which direction we can help them in. And that's really important that we have everyone fill that out who wants to access our services. And the other thing is that you know, when people are filling them out, is that it is actually filled out by the person themselves, rather than, you know, say I'm filling it out for my, I don't know, friend or my auntie, anything like that. Because if it's coming from the actual individual, then you know that they're going to, you know, come forward with that and be open to the help that they can get. And I think that's one really important thing, is that we emphasize is that it is coming from the individual themselves, rather than, you know, a mom or a father or anything like that, you know, because it may not be open, that the individual may not be open to that help at this moment, but, you know, later down the track, in that person's perfect timing, can be more open to that. You know, we don't want to push it, we want to be open to it.
So, you know, Amal, when you worked a little bit with Kathryn and me, would you say it helped you in your understanding? Frozen.
She's frozen.
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe we've come to a good place to sort of call it, and so the Muslim community is a very, very beautiful community. I was always curious why I would be called to such a community. But I want you to know, of all the people in the Three Principle movement, besides Sid, of course, who's my teacher, Dr. Roger Mills was the person I most respected, because he worked in community projects. And I always said, I want to help a community. I always saw that. And I always thought it was going to be the indigenous Native American Indian community that I was going to make my big contribution to. And a lot of what I learned from them, I'm applying here in the Muslim community. And as I listen to the Muslim faith, I say, oh, there's a lot of similarities between the Native American Indian and the Muslim people in their understanding and what they talk about and how they share. All I can tell you is Roger Mills was an inspiration for me, because what he did with Modelo and worked with the underprivileged communities. He didn't get rich doing that. But at the end, he did get a $750,000 grant to work with them. One day, I would like to be in that position as well. We'll do our job. We'll work with the people, we'll help everybody that we can. And one day either by sponsorship or by grants or whatever it is that happens, will be a force that will say, Allah will say, check mark. And that's my bottom line. If Allah says check mark, I'm all for it. I don't care what human beings say. Allah says check mark. So with that in mind, guys, thank you very much. Very beautiful. And see you guys real soon, Kathryn and Daniela and all the rest. And Maya, thank you for showing up with your beautiful smile and your good heart. And we'll see you all in 2 weeks with another show from Tawheed. And how do I end this? Okay, so guys, thank you very much. And
Thanks, Harry. And
yeah, you're
thanks,
welcome.
everyone.
Oh, stop recording. That's how I do it. Just a sec here, just a sec. Where is it? Where is it? Ah! Where is the recording?
I think it's at the top.
Oh,
when you-
yeah. Did I do it? Stop recording, yeah.
And you're live on Facebook.